The United States Navy has confirmed something unusual. The crew of the attack submarine USS Charlotte received a Navy unit commendation, one of the service's highest honors given to an entire crew rather than an individual. That much is documented. What triggered it is not. According to reporting from Navy Times, the commendation is tied to an incident in which USS Charlotte reportedly sank an Iranian frigate. That claim has circulated in defense media for months. The Navy has not released an official account of when it happened, where it happened, or what led to it. So here's the real question this story raises. Not whether it happened. A formal commendation doesn't get issued for nothing. The question is why the Navy would honor a crew publicly while keeping the operation itself completely dark. By the end of this video, you'll know what a Navy unit commendation actually certifies, why submarine operations almost never get detailed publicly, even when they're honored, and what separates the confirmed record here from the part that's still just a claim. Let's start with what's actually on paper. A Navy unit commendation, or NUC, is awarded to a ship, squadron, or crew for sustained superior performance, or a specific act of heroism that doesn't rise to the level of a presidential unit citation but is well above normal expectations. It is not handed out for routine deployments. Someone in the chain of command has to write a citation, and that citation has to be approved at a level high enough to matter. The existence of this award for USS Charlotte's crew is, on its own, a fact the Navy has acknowledged. What the Navy has not done is publish the operational narrative behind it. No release describing an engagement. No timeline. No named commanding officer tied to the specific event. That silence is exactly why the Iranian frigate claim remains, in careful language, reported rather than confirmed. I spent time going through what's publicly available on this. Congressional hearing transcripts, past Navy submarine force releases, prior NUC citations for other boats. One thing kept getting in the way. Submarine commendation citations, when they eventually surface at all, are usually the most heavily redacted unit awards the Navy issues. That's not paranoia on the Navy's part. It's doctrine. Attack submarines like USS Charlotte, a Los Angeles-class boat, operate on the principle that their value is proportional to how little anyone knows about where they've been. A surface ship's deployment is trackable. Port visits, exercise participation, open-source satellite imagery. A submarine's entire tactical advantage collapses the moment its movements become predictable. So when a submarine crew does something commendation-worthy, the Navy faces a structural tension. Honor the crew, but don't hand adversaries a map of what the boat can do or where it was. That tension explains the commendation. It does not explain the Iranian frigate. And that's where this story splits into two tracks, one we can stand behind, and one we can only report as reported. Here's what's most surprising about how this has played out in defense media. Outlets covering the story have been notably disciplined about the distinction. Navy Times, which broke the commendation news, frames the sinking as something that reportedly happened, not as an event it's independently verifying. Other outlets picking up the story have largely preserved that hedge rather than upgrading the claim to fact. That's worth noting because it's not always how developing military stories get handled online. Context matters here too. U.S. and Iranian naval forces operating close, frequent proximity in and around the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point through which a significant share of the world's seaborne oil trade passes. Iran's Navy and its Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy operate a mix of larger surface combatants, including aging frigates, alongside large numbers of fast attack craft. Tensions in the region have included shadowing, close encounters, and periodic incidents involving mines, drones, and small boat harassment over the past 2 decades. Against that backdrop, a claim involving a submarine and an Iranian frigate isn't implausible on its face. The two navies do operate in the same waters. Plausibility, though, is not confirmation. RETENTIONCHECKPOINT. 4 o'clock stakes bend. Here's the part that complicates a clean narrative. If a U.S. submarine had engaged and sunk an Iranian Navy vessel that would ordinarily be a significant enough event to generate its own paper trail. Statements from Iran, tracked movements, some acknowledgement through diplomatic or military channels beyond a single unit award. As of this reporting, none of that corroborating record has surfaced. The commendation exists. The alleged sinking, as a documented military event with a date and location, does not, at least not publicly. What this tells us, honestly, is less about this one submarine and more about how difficult it has become to evaluate military claims in an environment where official channels stay silent and secondary reporting fills the gap. We're not going to pretend that gap doesn't exist just to make this a cleaner story. RETENTIONCHECKPOINT, 50% mid-roll hook. And here's the take that might get us some pushback. The Navy's silence itself is a choice, not an accident, and it's one worth questioning. Submarine secrecy protects real operational advantages. Nobody's arguing the Navy should publish patrol logs. But when a unit-level award becomes public and a specific, serious claim attaches itself to that award in the press, saying nothing at all invites exactly the kind of unverified amplification we're seeing now. A short, careful statement, confirming or denying the broad strokes without compromising operational details is not the same as compromising security. Whether the Navy agrees with that is a separate question. We think the gap between "we can't say anything" and "we said nothing" is bigger than the Navy is treating it. So we'll put it to you directly. Should the Navy be expected to confirm or deny a claim like this once it's already circulating publicly, or does operational secrecy around submarines override that? Tell us where you land. There's a practical obstacle to resolving any of this further, and it's worth naming. Submarine action reports are classified, often for decades, and Freedom of Information Act requests covering active-era submarine operations are routinely denied or heavily redacted on national security grounds. That means the kind of definitive after-action account that would settle this official date, location, and outcome may simply not become public for years, if ever. That's not a satisfying answer. It's the honest one. So where does that leave the record? Confirmed. USS Charlotte's crew received a Navy Unit Commendation, one of the Navy's top unit honors, according to Navy Times reporting. Confirmed. The Navy has not released operational specifics behind that citation. Not confirmed. The details, timing, or even the full accuracy of the reported Iranian frigate sinking that has been linked to the award in defense media coverage. If you want to track this yourself as more information surfaces, the citation itself, if it's ever released in fuller form through a records request or a future Navy release, would be the actual primary source, not secondhand summaries of it, including this one. What we can say with confidence is this: a submarine crew was formally honored for something significant enough to warrant one of the Navy's highest unit awards. What exactly they did remains, for now, between the Navy and whoever wrote that citation. If the fuller story does surface, it'll be through official channels or a records disclosure, not through repetition. We'll be watching for it, and if you want to understand how the U.S. and Iran have circled each other at sea for years before this, that's a story we've covered before and one worth going back to.